The American people are struggling. The American people do need serious policy decisions to be made, and they need serious leadership on the world stage. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do that. Donald J. Trump has proven that he can do that.
Wow, the mainstream liberal media is having a full-blown meltdown over Trump's comments questioning Kamala Harris's race. This controversy has stirred up a lot of discussion, something that both the Harris campaign and the media were hoping to avoid. They've been dodging real policy debates and focusing on identity politics, so Trump flipped the script by challenging Harris's identity. Hey guys, welcome back to the Conservative Core, where our goal is to shine a light on the ridiculousness of the left. If you are tired of the lies the media is spilling, consider hitting the subscribe button, notification button, and like button. So Kamala Harris's entire campaign is centered around her identity as a so-called black woman with no substantial policy details on her platform. By questioning her racial identity, Trump made a strategic move that has deeply upset the mainstream media. This reaction is interesting to analyze. I mean, most black individuals doubt Harris's claimed racial identity. I mean, just take a listen.
Hold on, wait, first, Ray, hold on, Ray. Is Kamala black, yes or no?
I'm going to let her speak on that. But to me, no.
Oh, is Kamala black, yes or no?
I share that same view.
Wow, is Kamala black, yes or no?
I heard she was. I heard she's half black and half Asian.
But the reason why these media companies keep talking about this is because the Democrats have nothing else to run on. They can't talk about how Kamala's policies are what people want, because they're not. They can't talk about how good of a job they did the past 4 years, because they didn't do a good job. We have insane inflation, unemployment rising, and a border issue. They literally have nothing else to fall back on, so what do? They go back to the only thing they know, and that is attacking Trump, because Trump and his mean posts hurt their feelings. So instead, what they're trying to do is shift the narrative and make Trump look bad for asking the questions a lot of people have had. And we have none other than a complete meltdown on ABC. So the other day, Byron Donalds went on ABC and spoke to George Stephanopoulos, and Stephanopoulos had an epic temper tantrum. Let's run the clip.
Why is former President Trump questioning the vice president's racial identity?
Well, first, George, in Chicago, he was responding to a question from, I believe, Rachel Scott. Like, this is really a phony controversy. I don't really care. Most people don't. But if we're going to be accurate, when Kamala Harris went into the United States Senate, it was AP that said she was the first Indian-American United States Senator. It was actually played up a lot when she came into the Senate. Now she's running nationally. Obviously, the campaign has shifted. They're talking much more about her father's heritage and her black identity. It doesn't really matter. The president mentioned it. What he also talks about far more frequently is the fact that Kamala Harris is the person who created this massive inflation, which is destroying black families, white families, Hispanic families. It's her failure as border czar that has left our southern border wide open, more than 10 million illegal immigrants coming into our country, record fentanyl coming into our country, which has killed more Americans than at any other point in the history of our country with respect specifically to fentanyl, and the fact that she and Joe Biden have unleashed one of the worst foreign policies in the history of our country that has us on the verge of World War III. That is Kamala Harris's record. President Trump talks about that frequently, but yes, he did mention it in Chicago in response to a question from Rachel Scott.
Byron is spot on. The initial spotlight when Harris was elected was the fact that she was the first Indian-American senator. However, as she is now running for president, there's a noticeable shift toward emphasizing her African-American identity. All of a sudden, she now is black. It's as if her identity has been conveniently redefined to suit the political landscape. This change raises questions about the authenticity of her portrayal and whether it is being manipulated for political gain. Her portrayal as a black woman should be seen as offensive, as we can all see the media's reason for this. They are looking to garner votes. That is why, whenever someone questions this, the mainstream liberal media goes crazy. They are desperately trying to avoid this conversation and are silencing critics of Harris's racial identity because they know there's some truth to it. For example, if Michelle Obama were running for president and someone questioned her blackness, it would be clear to everyone that she is black. The media is trying to argue that the use of the one-drop rule to classify someone as black, even with just a small amount of black ancestry, is flawed. If that rule applied universally, every white person with any black ancestry would also be considered black. The truth is, many black people in this country feel that Kamala Harris is not authentic and question whether she is genuinely black. They believe she uses her racial identity as a political tool.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's always identified as a black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, one second. You just did it. You just did it again.
Of the United States.
Why do you insist on
2 minutes?
questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer. He talked about it on the stage yesterday in Atlanta for what, 2 minutes? He spent more than 35, 40 minutes going after her record, talking about how radical of a senator that she was. She was the most liberal senator in the United States, in the United States Senate. That is a fact. He talked about the job that she did as vice president of the United States, a job, I will add, which has been a failure for the American people. I know you guys like to glom on to this that he talks about in jest or in a serious manner for about a minute or so, but what you do not cover is the litany of failures of Kamala Harris. That's what you're not covering, George.
See, George knows that Byron answered the question already. He just has nothing to fall back on. Instead of talking about policies, he tries to keep it about her race. Harris has been a key player in the current administration's disastrous economic policies. Everyone is feeling the pinch. Harris's failure to address this inflation is a major problem affecting the daily lives of countless Americans and what we really should be talking about. Then, there's the border crisis. Harris was handed the job of managing the southern border, and what do we have to show for it? An unprecedented surge of 15 million plus illegal immigrants and record-breaking fentanyl deaths.
So questioning somebody's racial identity for a couple minutes is okay?
George, I'm going to tell you again, he brought it up. AP is the one that wrote the headline when she first came in to the United States Senate. Didn't talk about her being black, talked about her being the first Indian American senator. AP brought that up. I mean, George, we could have this conversation for the entire segment, but none of this matters to the American people. What matters to the American people is, are we going to have the same policies of the Biden-Harris administration that has been destructive of the American people, or are we going to have the policies of the Trump administration, which put America first, had low inflation, prosperous Americans, no matter your race, no matter your color, no matter your creed, and a foreign policy that kept America safe? Those are the facts that truly matter, because this issue is going to come and go. The lives of the American people is what's going to remain, and that's what matters more than anything else.
If it doesn't matter, I don't understand why you keep on repeating it, why the president keeps on repeating it, why those introducing the president yesterday
George,
keep on
actually,
repeating
I'm
it.
not the one who keeps repeating it. George, you're the one that's bringing it up now. That's you.
You've done it,
I understand why
sir.
you
You've done it.
up.
You've done it
Because,
3 times. Every single answer
George,
you gave me. Now let me finish, sir.
George,
Every single answer you gave, you repeated the slur.
Asked me, George. That's why I'm pushing back on you now. George, you asked me the question 3 times. I responded, but I'm.
And every single time you repeat the slur. That is exactly my point. You simply can't say that it's wrong.
George, so then what you're saying, and I want to get off this topic because it's not the only thing that's going on. But George, now you're saying that AP is the one that slurred Kamala Harris, because those are the facts. You can go to the internet and look at the clips, George, if you want to, or we can talk about this now. I prefer to talk about the future of our country, because the American people are struggling. The American people do need serious policy decisions to be made, and they need serious leadership on the world stage. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do that. Donald J. Trump has proven that he can do that.
AP did not say that Kamala Harris is not black. She is biracial. She is Indian. She is black. You continue to repeat the fact that you continue to repeat the slur. I don't understand why you and the president do it, but it's clear you're not going to say that it's wrong. And you've now established that for our audience. Trump also said at the convention that he would pardon January 6 rioters.
Everybody look for themselves. Let's move on.
I've already said that. Go ahead.
On the internet, everybody. Let's move on. There we go.
So, you go on and repeat the slurs again.
Wow, what a little temper tantrum from George. George asked the same questions 3 times, and because he didn't like the answers, he threw a tantrum. But I want to highlight something important before I dive into George Stephanopoulos. Notice how the next topic he wants to discuss is January 6th, not the attempt on Trump's life last month or Kamala Harris's policies. ABC wants to focus on Kamala Harris's race in January 6th, and these are issues that, for many people, are not the primary concerns. I mean, everyone I know does not really care about this. They care about why groceries for a family of 4 are $400 and why it costs $80 to fill up your car with gas. This fixation reveals how the left is overly concerned with identity politics, which they continue to emphasize despite it not being central to what most Americans care about. It's a disease. It's Trump bad, must destroy Trump. Like, what the heck are they hiding? It's also worth noting George Stephanopoulos, a white liberal, is fixated on the authenticity of black identity in this context, Where was his outrage when Joe Biden told Charlemagne the God, "You ain't black if you don't vote for me"? The media, which is now outraged over the questioning of Harris's race, was silent on Biden's controversial remark. This selective outrage is performative, aimed at protecting their favored candidates rather than addressing genuine principles. The left has long told black people that they aren't really black if they disagree with Democratic views. Now, they're pretending to be outraged over the questioning of Kamala Harris's racial identity. It's a double standard that shows their commitment to identity politics rather than substantive policy debates. To counter this, you have to stand firm and fight fire with fire. If the election becomes about identity politics, you must confront it head-on. Avoiding these discussions won't help. Rather, standing up and speaking the truth, even if it's controversial, is crucial. Whether or not Kamala Harris is authentically black is less important than addressing the policies that affect American lives. Inflation, cost of goods, the border, interest rates, and energy independence are all things that are 100 times more important than the Kamala Harris ethnicity. Why doesn't the media ask what Kamal's plans are if she wins? What is the first thing she would like to do if she were to win? Let me guess, because no one really will like what it is. Well, that's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like this video for more conservative news daily. See you in the next one.